The Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication at Arizona State University is honored to be a supporter of Indian Country Today. ASU offers the only online undergraduate digital media literacy degree, teaching students how to recognize and combat inaccuracies on all platforms. They are using cutting-edge tools and tactics to separate fact from fiction in a digital world overloaded with misinformation. Learn more at cronkite.asu.edu.
This is Indian Country Today.
Esquili, yes, thank you for joining us. I'm Patty Thalohungva. Here are the headlines from Indian Country Today. The Biden administration is planning to spend $4 billion to respond to the pandemic in Indian Country. That's right, $4 billion with a B. It's part of the American Rescue Plan. The funds will increase vaccinations and detect and respond to infections. Lost funding from Medicaid and other government insurance programs will be replaced. The funds will also increase preventive health service and expand hospitals and health programming to American Indians and Alaska Natives. One of the most significant parts is the replacement of $2 billion that comes from private insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, and the Veterans Administration. These outside funds are normally billed through individual units within the Indian health system. This third-party billing represents a big share of the budget for the Indian health system. Tribes in Arizona have a new gaming compact with the state, and this one includes sports betting. All 22 federally recognized tribal nations in Arizona have entered into this compact with the state. The negotiations for this compact took more than 5 years, according to Arizona Governor Doug Ducey. He led a ceremonial signing of the compacts at the Heard Museum. The compacts allow for new games to be added and increases the number of slot machines. The industry provides tribes with funding sources to support education, healthcare, housing, and other basic services. And the governor says revenue sharing helps the state with everything from education to wildlife and habitat conservation. He added that since the state entered into the compacts with tribes in 1992, the state has received $1.5 billion. Interior Secretary Deb Haaland still needs to sign the compact agreement, and it must be posted to the Federal Register before becoming effective. The Chickasaw Nation is making sure its non-native neighbors have access to the COVID-19 vaccine. The nation is offering vaccines to everyone near its lands in Oklahoma, just south of Oklahoma City. Anyone can schedule an appointment for a drive-through vaccine at one of the Chickasaw Nation's satellite health clinics. Vaccines are being made available to everyone because of an increase in both supplies and staff for the nation. Governor Bill Anatobi says the tribe is pleased to do its part to help put an end to the pandemic. In a landmark decision, Brazil's Supreme Court is siding with an indigenous tribe on land rights. The federal court unanimously accepted an appeal from the Guarani Kiowa tribe, and the court is agreeing to review the process around a past case that canceled the boundaries of their tribal lands. The tribe's decades-long fight for land rights in central West Brazil had been suspended by the ruling in 2014. Manga Bay News reports the decision to review is seen by analysts as a victory for the indigenous groups in Brazil. Well, Chelsea Dungey is on her way to play in the WNBA. The Dallas Wings picked Dungey in the first round of the draft. She's Cherokee and didn't have to wait too long to hear her name. She was the 5th overall pick.
With the 5th pick in the 2021 WNBA draft, the Dallas Wings select Chelsea Dungey.
Dungey attended college at the University of Arkansas, and in 3 seasons playing for the Razorbacks, she racked up a number of awards and set a record for the most points scored for any woman basketball player in the school's history. Her first game will be Friday, May 14th against the LA Sparks. And from professional basketball to football, the NFL's Washington football team may be ready for a new name, and it wants fans to help. In July of last year, the team announced it would retire its racist name. The organization is sending out more than 30 names to choose from to many of its season ticket holders. Some of the suggestions, the Hill reports, include red wolves, renegades, archers, and warriors, among others. The team will continue with the Washington football team brand for 2021, but it's also possible the team may stick with that name permanently. However, officials for the team say they would like to have a new name in place for the 2022 season. Well, soon billions of Brood X cicadas will emerge from a 17-year underground slumber. Brood X is one of the largest of the 15 periodical cicadas in the U.S. It's being described as a cicada apocalypse or even a cicada palooza. During these cycles, millions of cicadas can emerge, as many as 1.5 million per acre. For many indigenous people, these cicadas and other insects are a part of their traditional diets. Visit IndianCountryToday.com to read the full story from Marionette Pember. And those are the headlines from Indian Country Today. I'm Patty Thalahungva. When we come back, what does it take to build strong Native communities?
We'll hear from the president of the First Nations Development Institute and find out what areas are getting investment dollars. First Nations Development Institute is working to build strong economies in Indigenous communities. They've made over 2,000 grants since 1993, including $3.4 million last year in COVID-19 emergency grants. Joining us to talk about the impact of this investment is Michael Roberts, the president and CEO. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, sir. Good to be here.
Yeah, First Nations has such an extraordinary history, and lately there's been a lot of emphasis in agriculture. Maybe tell us about what you're doing today.
Yeah, First Nations has always been interested in a wide range of asset-based development issues. I think the ag and food space is right along that same line. When you look at what people spend money on, even poor folks, food is a big part of that household spending. So when you look at folks in Indian country spending 40% of their household income on food, and most of it leaving reservation economies into border towns, you start to figure out there's a huge potential impact from an economic development perspective on food and household spending.
Well, in fact, so much of the reservation-based economy is people taking money off, and food is one of those ways where you can bring money in.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, especially when you look at the inputs to agriculture that Indians own: land, water, intellectual capital, traditional ecological knowledge. All these are the kinds of things that could really create a robust food system and agricultural economy in a lot of reservations.
First Nations has had an extraordinary record in just terms of philanthropy. What would you say is the state of philanthropy in Indian country, and how is it changing?
Yeah, I would say two things. I think from the perspective of homegrown Indian philanthropy,s they're getting to be more and more, and they're getting to be healthier and healthier. I mean, the grandfather of them all is Seventh Generation Fund, who's been doing this for quite a while, and we're not too far behind them. But you have new entrants in the field, not so new, but newer, like the Potlatch Fund, and very new, like the Indian Collective. And so from that perspective, I think you're seeing a lot more of that re-granters who are doing great work. As far as private philanthropy giving to Indian country, it's pretty abysmal still. When we looked 10 years ago, less than 0.5% of private philanthropy was going to Indian country. And when we did our study 2 or 3 years ago, we saw that less than 0.4% of private philanthropic money is going to Indian country. And when you even parse out a little bit more and see how much is going to Indian controlled institutions, it's like 23/100%. And that's pretty dismal. It's pretty atrocious, really.
Breaking that down, let's first start with the major foundations. What kind of pressure can Indian country put to reform that system?
I think there's a lot of things can happen. Mark, you're part of the work that First Nations did on reclaiming Native truth. And this was a change the narrative project that we had done 4 or 5 years ago. One of the biggest findings from Native truth was the confirmation of just how invisible Indians are in this country. And that extends to people in philanthropy as well. We also looked at kind of the many myths and misconceptions that people in the public hold about Indians. Well, we did a similar study with folks in philanthropy called "We Need to Change the Way We Think," and found that program officers and people in philanthropy hold some of the very same myths. So I think that, what we can do from an Indian country perspective is doing what you guys here at Indian Country Today are doing on a daily basis, and that's just raise the profile and raise the visibility of Indian people so that we're not left out of these conversations.
I'm struck by how the Biden administration has been really making record appointments across the board in terms of government positions. That same idea, if it extended out to business and philanthropy, could be a huge change agent in terms of appointing more Native Americans to key posts, whether it be board of directors or program officers.
I think so as well. I mean, philanthropy in general has been a pretty poor player when it comes to bringing in BIPOC folks from BIPOC communities to serve as program officers, or even the C-suite officers of their foundations, and even less so in the boardroom. And I think that if you really want a multitude of perspective, if you really want a diverse view of the world and problem solving as a foundation, I think you'd be well heeled to bring on more folks of color, including folks from Indian country.
We were talking initially about agriculture, and one of those appointments, it's USDA, is Zach Ducheneau, who will be heading up basically the lending programs for agriculture. Can that be something that works with philanthropy? Do you have government and private sector work together on programs?
Well, I think that there's 2 folks at USDA, maybe 3, that's going to make a big difference from a philanthropic perspective in the partnerships that can be created. Zach is a really sharp guy and ran Intertribal Ag Council for a while. He took over for Ross Racine there, and they were blocking and tackling, doing the TA and technical assistance that needed to be done for Indian farmers and ranchers. So I think he's in the right position there at USDA. I think the other person is Janie Hip, who just left the Native American Ag Fund to take on the general counsel position at USDA, and is waiting confirmation right now. So I think with those 2 folks in place, there's some logical places for philanthropy and the USDA to team up and help with Indian farmers and ranchers.
Yeah, in fact, it's interesting because so much attention has been on interior, but this is almost as significant over at agriculture with what's going on.
Oh, I would agree. I mean, when you look at the budgets of Department of Ag, it's huge, especially in the number of programs that they have in a given year, and the ability to touch almost every tribe in the nation. So I agree with you, Mark. I think this is an incredible opportunity for Indian country over the next 4 years.
If you think about the roots of philanthropy, it really is indigenous values in a lot of ways. How do you communicate the structure of that to young people and say, this is something you should think about, whether it's for a career or just practical guide?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. I mean, I think the not-for-profit community and profession in Indian country is pretty invisible in general. So I think it's really imperative for us to demonstrate to young people coming through college that this is a viable sector to be looking at, much like law or business or education. This is another pathway they may choose. And there are quite a few Indian not-for-profits, and some of the larger ones are getting healthier and healthier every day. And we're all in the market for talented young folks to come join us.
And really, that when you look at the demographics, that's kind of an advantage, a secret advantage of Indian country, is the youthful population compared to particularly the rest of the country.
No, exactly. I mean, you look at the not-for-profit sector as a whole. I mean, there are a whole bunch of baby boomers like myself and like you who will be aging out of the workforce, especially in the not-for-profit community. And there's going to be a huge vacuum for finding talent in the not-for-profit sector in general. And as you pointed out, for Indian country, our demographics are a little bit different. We have a huge pool of youth showing up just at the right moment. I think that the advantage there is that we're going to be able to just kind of build on the momentum that organizations like First Nations have built over the last 30 and 40 years.
In addition to groups like First Nations, should tribes be engaged in philanthropy, and should they be rethinking it?
Yeah, I don't know if the answer is should they be. They clearly are. They're some of the better philanthropic players out there. And not only in the dollars that they give out in a given year, but the way in which they do it. We frequently hear from philanthropic partners of ours saying, we'd like to be in partnership with tribes. Unfortunately, oftentimes this partnership is they want tribes to fund what they're funding and how they're funding. And what really should be happening is they should be looking to tribes to see their practices, because for the most part, when tribes are doing philanthropy, they're doing much more of a trust-based philanthropic way of giving. And it's a kind of a handshake deal on the dollars they give. And it's a complete amount of, hey, we believe what you said you're going to do. We're going to entrust you with the money and treat you like a full partner. And I think that private philanthropy could learn much from that way of doing business.
The whole nature of philanthropy is changing anyway, with millennials coming up and some younger foundations thinking differently, wanting to be as much of a partner as a funder. How does that impact Indian country?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of change happening, or at least around the periphery of philanthropy. I mean, I think that you're seeing a much different kind of philanthropist on the West Coast, in the Silicon Valley kind of entrepreneur space, than you do on the kind of staid foundations of the East Coast. I think you see a huge amount of dollars going into donor advised funds from individuals who have stored wealth throughout their professional careers and becoming philanthropists in their own right. So you're seeing a bunch of small family and individual foundations who are making a difference, and a lot of them are showing up on the doorstep of Indian country. I think we saw this with Mackenzie Scott a few months back, the former wife of Jeff Bezos and Amazon. And she came out of the gate and gave away over $1 billion with a real trust-based approach. She did a little bit of due diligence. She wrote checks to a bunch of BIPOC communities and said, I trust you, go do what you're supposed to do. And I think philanthropy can learn a lot from people like her.
We only have less than a minute, but I wanted to ask you, what excites you most about philanthropy today?
I think that there are a lot of things that excite me about philanthropy today. Mostly, I think that, is for Indian country, I think it's become a better tool, a little bit like more sharpened tool for creating community change. Not that we as philanthropists are smarter or more talented than we were before, but communities are becoming better at accepting philanthropic money and using it to change their communities and build on their community dreams and hopes. And I think that's what makes it all worthwhile.
Thank you, Mike Roberts.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
And we'll be right back and look at professional bull riding and a native who is at the top of his game. The International Professional Bull Riding Competition had its first meet this weekend. Dakota Lewis, who is both Northern Cheyenne and Blackfeet descent, is one of the top Native American riders in PBR. He's a persistent competitor and had a breakthrough season in 2020. Lewis logged his best year with the league. His career has spanned nearly a decade. Lewis just finished a competition this weekend at Pendleton Whiskey Velocity Tour and now is in Grand Forks, North Dakota. Welcome, Dakota.
Hey, thanks for having me.
How'd you do?
I made a qualified bull ride, but I end up touching with my free arm, which is against the rules. So I end up getting a no score.
That's always tough. Tell me about how you got started in bull riding.
I was born and raised in a rodeo family, out on a ranch, raising cows and raising horses. And my family, they did all the events. My dad, he was a world champion Indian bull rider. So, growing up, he was my hero, and I didn't want to really do anything else besides be a cowboy. So I'm just blessed to be able to live the dream.
Bull riding has, of course, taken off in recent years, and it's become almost its own entity. How does that league now factor into what you do?
I mean, it's so awesome for us. I mean, the amount of opportunity we've been given to be able to ride bulls for a living at such high level. It's just a blessing for us, really. I mean, to be able to go against the absolute best guys in the world and the best animal athletes. I mean, for bull riders, it's definitely the cream of the crop. So I'm just so blessed to be able to be part of it and to be considered one of the best in the world.
I think that may surprise a lot of people, is how much respect bull riders have for the animals as athletes, and knowing which animals are the ones you don't want to compete with, or you do, because it means extra points. Maybe talk about what goes into that thinking.
You're going to be getting on a great athlete every time, and that's probably going to give you a chance to win first. I mean, the amount of bulls that you have across the world nowadays, they only bring the best to the PBR, and so everyone gets a pretty good even opportunity to win first. And I mean, you want the one that bucks the hardest and spins the fastest, so you can be the most points. So it's definitely, you got to be on your A game every time, for sure.
How do you talk to young people about getting into rodeo and professional bull riding?
Just like anything else, I guess, you seek the small steps it takes to get to where you want to be. In the bull riding world, it's definitely by far the most dangerous sport you can be in. I've had great friends pass away, and due to just crazy freak accidents. But you just like anything else, you go at it with 100% courage and continue to keep your faith and just go. And you find people that are in the events and the sports and just work your way up.
What are some of your goals for this season?
My goals this season is to be the number one guy at the end of the year to win the world championship. And to do that, I just gotta go at every weekend and stay on my bulls, and the rest will take care of itself. But it would definitely be one of my top goals is to be number one at the end of the year.
One of the things that's striking about professional bull riding is the team aspect, and tribal nations were included in the beginning as an entity. I think it may be the only international sport that's ever done that. Do you know anything about how that came about and what it was like to compete that way?
I'm not too sure how it all got started, but to be a part of the first national Native American team at the Global Cup was such a humbling opportunity, and to have the support that we did there every time that we competed was just so mind-blowing, really, just to see how huge the Native community can come together and push us to make us be that much better. So it was just such a great opportunity just to be there. And I look forward to the next one, because there's a few, there's a lot of natives that are great bull hands that can ride at the very top level. So I'm just looking forward to our next big competition.
And where are you headed next? Where's your competition going?
My next event is on Wednesday in Clovis, California.
And how long does your season last?
We've been going from January 1st all the way up. Our finals is the first weekend of November, and then we get a few weeks off here and there throughout the year, but for the most part, we're year round.
And travel is a big part of that. How do you have time to practice and prepare?
Oh, you definitely have to make time for yourself throughout your whole journey of what you got going. I don't just, a lot of people think we're just crazy guys to go out there and, hang on tight for however long. Well, I mean, you definitely have to be in the best shape you can be in, because them 2,000-pound bulls, they don't really care who you are or what you do. They want to buck you off. So, and to go on it day in and day out, you have to be mentally prepared. So, I mean, we have barrels and we have practice bulls, and I'm one of the guys who ride horses a lot. I ranch. So, I mean, we definitely stay active and just do a lot of the mechanics of what it takes to stay on.
We only have a minute left, so I just have a last question. And is that how is the PBR fared during the pandemic? And what lessons did you see out of that?
Oh, I mean, the leadership there was huge, to go out and take the right steps, to do the guidelines for everything that was going on and keeping everybody safe, and to continue to have our top level events, and then to go on and give TV stuff to still watch while everybody else was down, and then to also be the first sport to be back 100% capacity. I mean, it was crazy. The amount of electricity in the air was so awesome to have the fans back, for sure.
Well, Dakota Lewis, thank you so much.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
And that's a slice of our Indigenous world. Thank you for watching. We'll be back with another edition tomorrow. I'm Mark Trahan.
Sometimes you got to take a stand just because you know you can. Oh, you got to run, you got to run.
Indian Country Today is produced at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communications at Arizona State University.
This is Indian Country Today.